Ambassador William Taylor, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, vice president of the Russia and Europe Center at the U.S. Institute for Peace, with us now. Ambassador, it's good to see you, as always. The headline, right, is Vladimir Putin grabbing this Wall Street Journal reporter and accusing him of espionage. The backstory is that Vladimir Putin is starting to act a lot more like Khrushchev or Brezhnev than anything resembling a modern leader of a even somewhat civilized country. Is the United States doing enough to put Vladimir Putin in his place and extract a cost for downing American drones, harassing U.S. aircraft, flying over American troops in Syria, using energy as a weapon, arresting and holding American citizens for absolutely no reason?
So, Leland, you're exactly right of all of those transgressions by the Russians. And the main one is the main transgression, the main crime is the invasion of Ukraine. And there, the United States is doing a lot to help the Ukrainians defeat the Russians and push the Russians back out of their country. The United States is doing an amazing amount of support in terms of both diplomatically to assemble a coalition against Russia, but also to provide Ukraine with the weapons that they need. Are we doing enough? No, we should be doing more.
Well, there's one thing to do. There's one thing of what we do to help the Ukrainians, right? And that obviously Vladimir Putin doesn't particularly like. It's another thing, though, to go after Vladimir Putin directly and go after the Russians directly, the United States versus Russia. Mike Pence was asked about this last night on CNN. Take a listen.
It's time for the Biden administration to make it clear with Putin that we're not going to put up with his provocations. We're not going to put up with bullying reporters, which is nothing new in Russia. It goes on all the time. There have been reporters who've vanished, lost their lives during the Putin reign. But I think this is a moment for President Biden and the Biden administration to send a deafening message to Russia that they got about 24 hours to release that reporter, or there's going to be real consequences in the relationship between the United States and Russia going forward.
And so far, no diplomats have been expelled, no sanctions leveled personally against Vladimir Putin or his true inner circle, no seizing of assets, none of the things that, to put it in simple terms, punching the schoolyard bully in the face.
So, Leland, it turns out, as you know, there are sanctions on President Putin. President Putin has been labeled rightly as a war criminal. He has been sanctioned. His nation is sanctioned. He is a pariah. He's a pariah. And we've definitely indicated it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to seize reporters. The repression going on in Russia, as you just said, is nothing new. The repression now on not just reporters, but all of civil society, all of the Russian society is under this pressure, is under this control. And that's going on. That's a problem for Putin. That is a problem for Putin.
Fair enough, sir. But the fact remains he keeps doing bad things. Clearly, he hasn't gotten the message. We can say it's unacceptable over and over and over and over again, but until you extract a price that is high enough that he stops doing the unacceptable behavior. I can keep telling my dog no, but until you make the dog stop, the dog's going to keep doing it, and the dog's going to realize I can get away with these things. And I'm still curious as to why we haven't expelled members of the Russian diplomatic corps. You say there's sanctions against Putin. Yes. There's also ways to go after his family members and his inner circle when they're in Switzerland and their other bank accounts. There's ways to go after the Emiratis and say, if you continue to allow Vladimir Putin's bad actors and his money to go through Emirati banks, we'll extract a price from you. There's all sorts of things that we could do that we're not. I'm old enough to remember Joe Biden saying he's going to stand up to Vladimir Putin, and yet Vladimir Putin keeps doing bad things.
He keeps doing bad things. Leland, you're exactly right. Of course, there's no argument there. And the worst thing is what he's doing in Ukraine. That's where he's killing people. That's where he's killing hundreds of thousands. And that's where we are pushing back very hard on that dog that you talked about. He's learning that. He's on his back foot there. There are other things that can be done. Absolutely right. And I expect to see those kinds of things. But the most important thing to do right now is to show Putin that he's losing in Ukraine.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.